Welcome to Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Until Dawn 2024. They call it a remake. It's really much more of a remaster than anything because they didn't remake shit. But I played it on the PS5. It's also available on the PC, and you can play the original Until Dawn on the PS4 and PS5 via backwards compatibility. So let's get into the story. You play as a group of teens who are back at Black Mountain to basically kind of reconnect and heal over a traumatic event the year before. Specifically, a prank that went horribly wrong and led to the death of Beth and Hannah, the twins, who are also sisters to Josh, one of the characters. And, well, you play as all the different characters throughout the game. There seems to be some sort of psycho on the loose, but things aren't exactly what they seem. And what I'm going to say is I still enjoy the story. They didn't change it, so I don't get the remake element there. The story follows, well, the story from the first game. I didn't notice any major changes, and I'll say it now, I used a walkthrough to get everyone to survive, and a walkthrough from when the first game came out that worked on the first game still worked on this game, so not seeing the remake on the story elements there. But then let's get into the audio, and the music is good. I think it works very well with the game. I think it creates a good, tense atmosphere. For me, I didn't necessarily find it scary, but I did find it very tense. And then as for the voiceover work, I think the voiceover work is wonderful in this game. They have a lot of really good actors and actresses playing these characters and voicing these characters. So I think they did a great job with that. And as for the sound effects, I think they did an awesome job with that. The sound effects are fantastic, especially being out in the woods and it being all spooky and whatnot. But let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and this is an interactive narrative. You get to do a bit of exploring, find some clues, find out more about the twins, find out about the maniac, find out about the history of the mountain you're on, as well as find these totems that can give you glimpses of the future and shit. And those pieces of the totems that give you a glimpse of the future and maybe help you decide shit, they really, I find, don't help at all, personally. Now, given that this is my third time playing this game because I played the original twice, I was totally okay with using a guide to try and have a 100% survival rate, and I got it. Now, beyond the exploring, there is, the quick time events, as well as these don't move events, and those are kind of busted and fucked, in my opinion. While I got through most of them easily enough, there were ones that I failed for no fucking reason, and it's time for story time. There's a very early event where Beth is trying to pet a wild deer, and you need to do a don't move, and I failed it 3 times. First time I was like, okay, I don't think I screwed that up, so I restarted, tried it a second time. Failed again, don't think I moved then either. But I was finally so fucking annoyed that I put my controller on the ground during the don't move, and I still somehow failed. I by chance on a 4th time, where I intentionally moved the controller just a little bit, somehow fucking passed. Now the bullshit is, at no point in time did I ever see the little capsule in the ring move outside the ring, which is when you're supposed to fail. So I don't understand how the fuck I failed just based on that visual element, let alone the fact that the controller was sitting on the fucking floor. Then in one of the final scenes where I'd gotten everybody alive and I'm sitting there trying to get out, it keeps failing me. So I finally put my controller on a fucking pillow on the floor, and it still says I failed. I have an issue with that, and I found out it's because of the vibration of the controller. That is what is fucking me over and fucking anyone else over. So I literally turned off the vibration and it was fine. I was perfectly still. I was doing okay. It was the game fucking me over. And I have a huge problem with that. If a feature on the controller is causing this issue, then you need to account for that as the developers. Now, I'm especially pissed about it because I didn't have that problem when I played it the first time on the PS4, the original game. I do feel like that is a huge drawback to this experience. And maybe it's just a PS5 thing. Maybe it's the PS5 controller being more sensitive with its sensors than the PS4 controller was. But it is very frustrating, and if you want to get through it, you should either turn down your vibration settings, or I guess you can change the sensitivity settings for the don't move events. But if that's what you have to do, even if you're doing everything right, or literally putting your controller on an object that isn't moving at fucking all and not vibrating massively, like the floor or on a pillow, which would, absorb the vibrations, and you're still failing, that's a fucking problem. Yes, I seem flustered by it because it really did annoy the ever-living shit out of me. But also, talking about this being a remake, they didn't change the gameplay at all. So there's no remake there. It's not like you took a turn-based RPG and made it an action RPG. This game literally has the exact same gameplay and gameplay mechanics as the original, so not a remake on that front either. But let's get onto the controls, and overall they're fine. I found that they were responsive when I was doing button prompts. The camera is good enough. There are times where you don't have control over the camera, so you get used to using the right stick for a bit of steering, but then when that's taken away from you, it just feels a little weird and out of place, because sometimes the camera is fixed. But as for the movement when you're exploring and whatnot, I feel like that is incredibly clunky, and I don't remember if it was in the PS4. I'm not judging the PS4 version, I'm judging this version, and it felt very clunky, and maybe it did in the PS4 original, but it feels very clunky in this for sure. Let's get on to the graphics and visuals, and this is the only place where this game has a real step up. It's a beautiful game. It looks fantastic. The characters looked great, like great in the PS4 version, and still do, having seen some gameplay footage of it recently. Now, are there more details in the PS5 version, this remastered version? Yes, I think there are. I think the characters do look overall better, but I think where this game actually has the largest step up is the backgrounds. There's more detail in the mountain itself and the backgrounds, as well as just everything else in the world. There is more detail there than there was in the original game. Overall, the original game still looked good, and this does in fact look better. We're not talking going from PS2 to PS5, we're talking PS4 to PS5. I will say it ran smoothly, which is always good in a game like this when you need to be responsive. I didn't have any stuttering, dropping of frames, anything like that, so that is always very appreciated. The only, I think it was a glitch I didn't really pay attention to it the second time, was there was a point in time where there should have been targets on two things and those targets didn't appear. So that was weird and kind of fucked with me. But it also made it hard to know what I was supposed to do in that situation. Okay, so to get into the wrap up, I don't think Until Dawn needed a remake, which this isn't, it's a remaster. Mostly because it was still a good game. It's only 9 years old and it came out on the last generation and still honestly looked good. It still looks good by today's standards. Maybe if you've never played Until Dawn, pick this up, but if you've already played Until Dawn and still have a PS4 copy of Until Dawn, well, it still works on your PS5. So I don't see the need for this, and I don't see the reason why you'd buy it again. All I can say is if you've never played it and you like an interactive narrative that's very tense, I think this is a fun one. If you like what Supermassive Games does, I think this is a good one. But if you have played it on the PS4, you don't need the 2024 edition. Okay, in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, what are your feelings on Sony and this whole remaster remake shtick they're on? Because I think they're getting a little out of hand with it. Or at the bare minimum, focusing on the wrong shit. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one.